hope you've enjoyed watching me stand up here like an idiot waiting for 7 o'clock to roll around. I don't know how much you've been paying attention to this big screen over here, but as you could probably assume, my project was making a comic. So, ever since I was a wee little lad, I have always loved comics. You know, I got like a Calvin and Hobbes collection when I was 7, and that sort of smacked me on my my journey onwards. Now, since then, my interest in comics has kind of grown a bit. For example, I mentioned Calvin and Hobbes. I started wanting to do comics like Calvin and Hobbes, the sort of Sunday strips you'd read in a newspaper. And then after a while, it evolved into graphic novels, and then into sort of more serialized comics, like the ones you might think about when you first hear the word comic book, you know, something like that. Another thing that sort of sparked my interest in this medium has been a overlying interest in the mythological. So mythology, magical beliefs, folk religions, folk tales, stuff like that has been sort of this big inspiration throughout all of my creative work. And I like to think that goes back a ways, but in all honesty, I was probably just a little kid wanting to make cool looking stuff. So it's like, nowadays you say, oh, no, that monster is supposed to represent this Greek thing. You pass 7-year-old me, like, it's a monster. It's cool. Look at it. It's got 4 heads. Anyways, for this particular comic, and this comic is also sort of this foundation for something I hope to be able to turn into a larger series as I go through college and continue making these, is called sort of The Tales of Hannibal. And now I am not talking about Hannibal like the historical figure Hannibal from Carthage, not even the A-Team member Hannibal. Hannibal is the name of a character I created who is an inhuman character. Hannibal is a Blemmyes man. Now, that's a weird fucking word, I know. And what that is a Blemmyes man is a character from very obscure Greek mythology. And what they are is they're this tribe of people said to live in northern Africa who have no heads and have their faces on their bodies. And so I remember I read that somewhere, I think it was like last year. I was like looking through my phone at random facts, because that's what everybody looks at. And I found, oh, hey, did you know this thing? Oh, I didn't. Cool. And then I like the idea, and especially because at the time, I was like getting back into drawing after a while of taking a break from it. So I was lacking in a few skills, particularly figure drawing and drawing the body and the extremities and the arms. And a character like a Blemmyes man seemed like the perfect candidate, because that's all he is. He's just a body. You can't mess up drawing a body with him, because if you do, then the whole thing just crumbles. It's not like, oh, the body looks like somebody slapped spaghetti on a piece of paper, but the face is really good. No, you can't do that. You can't compensate. There's no compensation. And so, of course, this also factored into my fascination with the occult and the mythical. And for this specific one, it starts off in the Sahara Desert in Tunisia. If anybody doesn't know what Tunisia is, it's this small sort of a country in North Africa, I think right next to Algeria. I don't know. Yeah, Algeria. Right by there. And takes place, Hannibal is wandering through this desert. He stumbles across this tomb, and he doesn't know what's in it. So he goes down and he finds a room full of treasure and magical goodies. Also, an inhuman skeleton, and a skeleton with a bizarre skull. Like the body is a human. But good thing that didn't break. But the skull is, I actually used a mink skull for the inspiration for the skull. Now, Hannibal doesn't know it, but that dead carcass is a lich. Now, a lich is a undead creature that is basically think it's a powerful wizard. And when this wizard was alive, he did not want to die. But there is only so many ways one can escape death for so long. It's not that easy. But there is one way, a very unorthodox way, that once he died, he went through the desecrating and arcane rituals to become a lich, where he maintained his consciousness and all of his magical powers. And but it's like he sort of became like further away from humanity, because there's only so much humanity you can maintain when you're dead. It's another thing that's not easy about death. It's not easy to avoid, and it's not easy to stay human. It's just like it's a hefty criteria. Anyways, this specific lich, his deal is that if you take something from his treasure room, he goes nuts on you. He hates that. He doesn't like anybody touching his things. So Hannibal, because he does not know this, he has not ventured out into the desert by himself very often. So he sees a room full of treasure and he's like, you know, I'm broke. I think it'd be a good idea for me to refill my pockets a bit. So he takes some treasure, and he also takes a magical stone. He doesn't know what it is, but it looks cool, so that's reason enough for any sort of adventuring person. And he leaves, but unbeknownst to him, the lich starts formulating his revenge. And that's where it sort of lets off. Now, originally, I wanted to make it a lot longer, but when I was looking at the second half more critically, I saw that there were a lot of things that didn't really add up. There was like a lot of hand waving, like, oh, he gets away from the lich because just this happens, and I wanted to sort of, and from there I sort of wanted to make it more open-ended, give me more options to what to do with it. Like I could make the lich a recurring character instead of making him defeated immediately, like was my idea. Now the process of making this comic, nowadays comic making is a bit more technical. If you ask a lot of professional cartoonists and comic makers, they will tell you that they always use a computer. Like they'll have a tablet and one of them pens, and they'll draw the whole thing. They'll draw the whole thing on the computer. I did it in a sort of not old school, because I still use the computer for the coloring, but I did it a more traditional way where I drew it all on paper first. I did the penciling and the inking, and then I scanned it onto the computer. I went to Staples and I got it all scanned in, and I took it to a program called Manga Studio. That's apparently it's number one for the next 5 years, or the past 5 years. I'm not sponsored by Manga Studio, but if they want to sponsor me, I'm always open. So yeah, and I used that to color, and I used it to letter the pages. Now I got the colored pages up here. An annoying, actually, little tidbit is that when I put it on my flash drive, it saved in the wrong order, so now it's all messed up, and yeah. I was originally going to just scroll through it, but I don't know. It's like annoying. So I have the original drawings here, and I don't know how well you can see them from up here. Probably not too good, but I think I'll just pass these around, and you can just sort of look through them. And there's only 7 pages, like I said, and then I can just sort of go through these pages here. Let me just skedaddle over here. And you'll notice, in the drawn pages, I actually left a few things out. Like, it looks a bit pixely, isn't it? Let me see if I can get that a bit bigger. Like you can see, right here, like a lot of the shadows I didn't add in the page. And if you can see it, I don't know how well you can see it from back in the back seats, but there's a few particles of sand here, like sand flying up that I had to do on the computer because, well, it's hard to do it on the pen and paper. So yeah, this is the beginning. He's wandering through the desert. You see, it establishes that he has no head. And you see, he slips, and he falls, and he curses. And then he gets up grumbling. And then, yeah, he comes across the Great Tomb. And now, when I was coloring the tomb, I had originally made it a few different colors. First I made it gray, then I made it a grayish green, and then I settled on purple. For a reason I had, but for right now, it's escaped me. Yeah, he sees it, and he is confronted with the dark. Hold on, maybe I should just turn off the lights for this one just because it's so dark that you can't really see it that much.
The one on the TV.
Yeah.
Hmm?
You can see it on TV.
Oh, you can see it on TV. That works, yeah. That's good.
Yeah, it's very
Been on the TV. So, you know, he traverses the staircase. And he comes across this thing. The huge treasure room. Now, the treasure room was an interesting experience because it was one of the most annoying things to draw. And you could probably tell why. It's because of all that gold that I have absolutely no idea how to draw it all in sort of this sort of pile. It doesn't look that great, but I don't know. It could be worse. I remember I had to draw it and I had to copy and paste and I had to do the stamp tool and it was an ordeal. You can see sort of the crystal eyes. And that was a cool feature. All liches have sort of gem eyes. It's the style of the lich.
Which is the lich?
Yeah, which one is the lich?
The lich?
Yeah, go ahead.
This guy.
Can you zoom it?
Oh yeah, let me. Yep. Spooky, I know.
So that's the gem eye.
The gem eyes. And then, you know, Hannibal, the Polonius man, with the weird name. So, you know, he takes the treasure in that one, and then as he's about to leave, he notices the cool stone. I don't know what it is. It's got a cool little design there. So, you know, he examines it and he pockets it. And then he leaves and he sees smoke in the distance. Somebody has got a campfire. Somebody is cooking some marshmallows. And he sets off to follow it. Where is that one? There it is. And then it pans over back to the crypt. And you can see that the lich's eyes start to glow very menacingly. Because he knows somebody has been touching his goods. He's pissed. And that is where that part ends. Now I do plan on continuing this throughout the summer and throughout college, just in general. And the idea is Hannibal is supposed to sort of travel the world, experiencing all these mythological adventures, and creating this knowledge base. Like he forms sort of he gains more experience and gains more knowledge in this mythological aspect of the world, and for it becomes this great hero. And that's about it. Any questions? Meryl.
How long did each thing take you to do? Like, how long did it take you to get everything written up, and then how long did it take you to color it in once you got it on the computer?
The pages I finished in like the first 2 weeks, and then the last week I spent doing all the coloring. Darcy.
I thought it was really interesting that there was almost no dialogue or sort of explicit quotes. It relied all on the visual cues, and that's a form of storytelling. And I thought that was such an interesting artistic choice. How did that come about? Did you experiment with adding a verbal component, or was that from the beginning?
That was sort of the plan, and in every time I start a comic with Hannibal, where he's alone, I always want to do it silently. And I have, like, me personally, I think that doing stories that rely mostly on visual cues and not a lot of dialogue, I think those are fascinating. That's like, the idea has always been really cool to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what, the way I look at this, there was a research, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was the conceptualization of the story, and then there was the artwork. Which of those processes did you get the most satisfaction from?
I don't know if I can pick a favorite. I mean, I'm like, I love reading. Like, I go to the bookstore. My dad can testify. I spend more money on books than any human should. It's like I make it rain in the bookstore. And I like to. I think maybe I'd say the research and the conceptualization are my favorites, just because the artwork like gave me this cramp. So now my wrist sounds like a cement mixer. Okay. Any more questions? Yes.
A lot of stories, especially mythological ones, have sort of a moral to them or some message that you're trying to give. Do you have this laid out to providing a message?
The message is, don't steal from liches. If you ever in the desert and you come across a tomb and it's got a bunch of treasure, leave that alone. Let Indiana Jones take care of that. He has the whip. But I don't know.
Do you know the ending to the story?
I have an idea of the ending. Basically, you saw the smoke that Hannibal saw. He's going to come across a sort of mystic, this grand mystic who's been doing this thing way more than Hannibal's been doing this. He's traveled the world and learns all sorts of magic. And he's going to tell Hannibal, dude, you screwed up. You shouldn't have done that. That was like, did you even see the skeleton? Did you look at its crystal eyes? And he's going to help Hannibal defeat it. That's Matthew.
I think it's interesting that you chose such a classic evil being the Lich. Did you choose the Lich because he is such a classic one, or was there any other reason?
You know, I don't know why I chose the Lich. Honestly, the first story I tried doing was Hannibal was with the Mongolian deathworm. Yeah. And the reason that didn't work out, because Mongolian deathworm, as you might assume, lives in Mongolia. And this is the Sahara.
So with like going to college and everything, what is like, I guess your goal or like your dream of where you want this comic to go and how you want to continue it in college and, you know?
Well, you know how Harry Potter is basically, it's this world, but there's a sort of underworld where all this magic exists? It's sort of going to be like that, where he's going to come across all this magical community embedded into this into the real world. Like, don't know what era I'm going to do this in, probably like around 1950s, 1940s, something around that time.
And do you want it to be like published one day, or like do you have like a?
I'd like it to be published. One of the things I want to do in college is start a comic publication magazine where students can publish their comics in a anthology sort of format.
I can just go back to Darcy's question for a second. So I've known you for about 15 minutes, and your comics are devoid of dialogue. And it's really clear to everyone in this room that you're really a facile speaker. You're really comfortable with words and dialogue. And I'm just wondering What do you think that's about? Why are you creating something that is almost the antithesis of you?
I don't know. Honestly, I'm doing this like, I'm ad-libbing this. I didn't have a script prepared, so I think this is just nerves. I'm like going off adrenaline. Like, gotta speak! All right, I gotta go. Nice. Thank you. Thank you.